every canvas that we've done so far has been started on white. And I'm going to attach some more videos on why you might want to start with a neutral background, which can be a brown or a brownish color or a grayish color. If you start on a neutral background, you can see when you start painting, you can pull up your lights, and it's like a middle ground. So you can add your lights and add your darks, and you can use it as the middle value. And it's just a different technique. I want you to see if you like it. I'm starting in acrylic, and I'm going to let the acrylic dry. And then I'm going to do oil over that with Impasto Medium for the Impressionist painting. After I do, I'm getting some brown, some white, and I'm going to get a little light green because I'm going to do a landscape. And I'm going to mix with a palette knife. So there's my white. I'm doing the acrylic as the background. You can do oil over acrylic because it's fast drying. If you did oil, oh, that looks too green. So I'm going to get some brown. If you did oil over oil, you would have to let it dry longer. Yeah, that looks kind of nice. So I'm going to add a little more brown. Trying to just make a neutral color. But it seems too light. So I'm adding more brown. Okay, that looks okay to me. The background will probably be mostly painted over. So I'm just going to get this. My canvas is underneath here. And paint the canvas. I'm probably going to do 2 layers. And I'm going to add a little bit of water, not that much. I'm just doing the whole background this color. And I'm getting paint on my table. You just get a different, this is a different starting place for your painting, having a colored background. And you can also do, we're starting with neutral, but you can also do bright colors. Like say you were doing a blue period piece, you could do the whole background blue and then work on from there. I'm just trying to smooth it out. You don't want a lot of the brush strokes in here, and you don't want this to have texture in it. This is just like a background layer. You want it to be uniform, meaning the same throughout. And you can just let this dry and do another layer if you want, or you can leave it. It's up to you. If you feel like I'm just smoothing it out. You can also buy like black canvases. And this is called staining a canvas. Okay, so I'm going to stop here with this video. Out some paints to start. I put out some whites and a green and some reds. And this is what I wanted to show you. I'm going to use this later with the palette knife. This is Impasto Medium. So it's like a gel that you mix with the paint to make it thicker, to make it stick up from the surface like a relief, which is called impasto. But first, I'm going to start with a thin layer. So I'm going to move this over here. And there's my canvas. Hold on. And I'm moving this over a little bit. I'm going to use the dark green. And I'm using a medium-sized brush. I'm just blocking in areas right now. So I'm making a horizon line that's slightly curved. Okay. I need to move this over. Let me bend this so you can see better. There. Okay, so there's some trees. Okay, so I'm going to make shapes for trees. So remember, this is a fast painting. So you can change something in the painting that you originally did. Like if you want to add a sun or something else. I'm just being very kind of watery right now. But remember, if it doesn't have detail, that's okay. I'm going to add more detail than this, though. This is just a kind of a wash start to it. And they get shorter as you go in this direction. This is not the detail, but okay. Just getting a start on my canvas, right? And if you want to add light, the reason that people sometimes use a neutral color is that they can pull darks up from the neutral color and lights from the neutral color. So I'm going to get I'm going to lighten this color rose, permanent rose, and make a pink. That's too dark. Hold on. So now I'm just going to add some dots. So the pink really stands out against the green neutral background, where I think some of the flowers are. And you can mix on the canvas. So like in Impressionism, when you see like a white highlight on the flower, whoops, that's a little too thick. You can just go like that instead of doing the detail, right? And then when you move farther away, it seems more detailed. I'm just adding some areas of flower. Some of them are big and some of them are small. It doesn't have to be exact. Here's some over here. And I'm not going to do all of them. I'm just going to do some. And there's also some red. So I'm just going to get the cadmium red light hue and put in some dabs of red. This is kind of a start to it. Whoops, I got some rose there. So if you want to do perspective in this, you can do like a perspective building in a landscape. You can also use atmospheric perspective. I'm going to use the impasto later. I'm just kind of blocking in right now. You can also paint with the palette knife. Okay, so I'm going to stop there and get a smaller brush. Okay, that'll work. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my dark green trees. Actually, I'm going to leave those alone for right now, and I'm going to get some yellow. So I did acrylic, and now I'm working with water mixable oil after the acrylic is dried. You need to make sure it's dry. Okay, so I'm going to get some yellow. I'm trying to make a light kind of yellow-green color. And I'm going to do some of the, and I'm doing yellow, green, and white. And I'm going to do some of the stems. Maybe a little bit darker. Okay, so there's a bunch of stems here. It's basically line work. I made it a little yellower. Adding some water. And if there's more flowers, I can paint them over this, but I'm trying to get this in the background. Remember, you're doing impressions of what you see. So like, it almost looks like it's kind of blurry. An impressionist painting looks blurry or can look blurry. It can be a little bit time consuming. I made a darker green. I'm going to use just the pure dark and add that in here. Remember, back here in the hill, it would probably be more dull due to atmospheric perspective. Okay, and now here, I'm going back to the yellow-green. And I'm doing some more yellow-green lines. I'm going to combine lines and dashes and dots. Now, I'm going to do a light I want to do the dark green trees, but I need to make the sky color here first so I can pull it over the trees. So I'm going to do a light blue. To start. So I'm doing cerulean blue hue and white. That looks good. And I'm going to have some areas with more blue and some areas with less blue. I may add to this later if I want to make some like pink or violet. I'm just putting a smooth coat here so I can bring those trees over it. I'm getting a little bit more white and a little bit more blue. Oops, got some green in there. There's some more white. And some more blue. I'm going to finish this corner. I may add to it later, but I'm going to do the other. I'm moving around the image. Whoops. Trying to smooth. You can also take a photograph yourself of something. You have a garden or something you want to paint. Okay, so now I'm going to still use this brush. It's a bigger brush. And I'm going to go back down to the bottom and do, ooh, just got really a lot of dark in there. Some more, well, it's now all dark. Some more of these lines. I'm adding a little bit of water. Okay. Wow, I've made a mess here. Let me get some darker. All right, so now I'm going to kind of let that dry a little bit. And I'm getting a smaller round. And I'm going to go back to the trees and pull them over the sky. Okay, so I'm going to give them, I have paint all over me. Great. Okay, so I'm going to give them more shape. Okay, so like there's a tree right here. Doesn't have to be exact, but I'm trying to make it look a little more like trees. And these trees are going to be dark silhouettes. There may be, let me get the silhouette first. I may add a lighter value of green into the green that I'm using. And I'm just looking at the colors I have. This green, sometimes when your paints get old, this is an old tube of green. It's not as, like it kind of dries out a little bit in the tube. So it gets lumpy. And that's what I'm experiencing with this. A little bit. You don't necessarily even have to look at a picture for this. I'm not necessarily looking at a picture. I mean, sometimes I am, but I know that they're the basic shape of the trees. And I'm trying to just define a little bit more. You can also put medium in the paint. Not like a glaze amount, but a little bit of oil if you want it to be smoother. In this painting, I'm not really going to do that. I'm going to focus on the impasto. But I need to get it kind of blocked in first. Okay, so there's another dark. And just going across. Some of this has a little bit of water in it. And if you feel like if you're using water and you feel like it's getting too watery, that's when I would use the oil. I have oil too. Hold on. I'm going to add a little bit of oil to it. Not a lot, a little tiny bit. Not like a glaze, just to kind of loosen up the paint. See how that looks. But then it's like kind of a little bit, I don't want to use this word, but it's a little bit slimy. So you just have to get used to how much you're going to put in and what works for you. And this still looks pretty it looks too transparent. This is a transparent color. It's a phthalo. To make it opaque, you would add white. And okay, so now that does not look, to me, I'm not satisfied with that. But I'm going to still get my green. And I'm going to go along the edges and add a little shape. And I'm kind of, I looked at the picture, but I'm also kind of just, making it up. Just little ins and outs. Whoops, that's too much. So definitely choose your own picture. Okay, so something like that. It's hard to work with transparent colors. kind of just dots. And then I don't want to get it too thick unless I want it to be. Okay, so now I'm going to add a little bit of white to this green. I'm going to make a lighter version, which will be opaque instead of transparent because the white is opaque. And I'm going to do some stippling or dots in certain areas. Oops, that's too much water. So when you're trying to thin it out with water and it becomes like a watercolor, that's when you would want to use your oil. I'm going to do a series of dots going down. And this is not done. I mean, really not done. That looks so unfinished. But I'm just trying to find areas that I think are lighter, which is mostly in between. Even though this is kind of quick painting, there's a lot of work to it. This looks horrible, but I'm going to add to it. This is just one layer. Okay. It looks unfinished, is all. Okay, so on the bottom, before I go further into the grass, I want to show you the impasto. So I'm just going to put this on top of here. So this is the Impasto Medium. And it's just a gel. It looks like a gel. And it makes the paint thicker. So I'm going to get a palette knife. And I don't use it with acrylic. I only use it with oil. And I'm going to get some rose and white and mix it into the impasto. So now it's thick. And when you're doing this type of painting, you can do some of the painting with the knife. So if you want the effect of a thick daub of paint and trying to put white in this, that's texture, right? So that's actual texture on a painting, meaning it sticks up and it'll dry like that. It's going to take a little bit longer to dry. I don't like the whole thing white, so I'm going to put some red in here with a knife and kind of mix it around. And that's the Impasto Medium. I know I'm moving around a lot, excuse me, but I don't want to do the thick paint until I do the leaves. So I'm getting some more yellow. And a little bit of white. And I'm going to do a yellow dot. First, I'm doing some dots in the foreground. Hold on. That'll work. I'm just finding a brush I can use. Okay. You can have impasto in the dots too if you want, but I'm before I get really thick, remember fat over lean again. So when you put the impasto in, you're making it fatter. So I'm going to try to do some of the foreground before I finish the flowers. And there's just lots of dots in here. Leaves. This is a yellow and white. And I'm going to try to make it uniform. I'm leaving some of the lines showing. You can go faster than this too. This is a little more yellow. Maybe you want some variation. This is just one layer. Getting some more for the back. I'm going to try to go a little bit faster. If it has too much water in it. Okay, so something like that. I'm gonna keep that same color and add a little bit of green to it. See what this looks like. Yeah, so I'm gonna make another series of dots. I'm gonna add a little weight to that. Lighten it up a little bit. So I'm gonna make another series of dots. Some of them can touch. So say if you go like this, you're kind of they're mixing, the colors are mixing on the canvas. I don't want to do that over the whole thing because there's still lines. Okay. I'm going back to more of a dot type thing instead of the blending on there. And I'm going to keep going. Okay. And let me go back to my lines for a second. I mean, that just looks so juvenile. Okay, so let me see if I can add some lines. Still don't like it really, or it needs work. Let me see what happens if I smear one of these. No. I'm going to go dark. And try to do some dots to kind of enmesh them together. It kind of looks better. I'm going to make a lighter green. Hold on. That looks better. So this is very quick dots that are kind of, I don't want to go over them, but I'm trying to blend them so they don't look like a kindergartner did them. So it's okay if it looks messy. That's kind of a part of it. I'm trying to leave a little bit of the under painting showing through. Back here, I have a lighter color. I'm going to do the lighter color back here. It's more dulled. I may have to stop soon and do another video. So this doesn't erase. I'm probably going to do about 3 or 4 more minutes. I just don't, every time I go over a certain time frame, it erases. Or it doesn't download. Okay, so I'm going back to, I got too much white in here, hold on. And too much water. My light green color. This is a matter of layering. This still looks not that great to me. I'm not getting thick with impasto yet. Okay. Maybe a darker green. Whoa. A darker green dot. No, maybe in some areas. Let me try just green. Hold on. It may not work. I might do some in the front because it'll show high contrast in the front. But let me see how it looks. Yeah, that looks okay. I used a picture as a reference, but I'm kind of using my imagination also and adding to it. I like that. I like the dark green. I didn't think I was going to like it, but I do. I don't want to make it too, well, we'll see what happens. See as we go. Okay, so what's over here? More dark green. So the colors are mixing. I'm going quite quickly, but the dots are mixing in with the other dots. Okay. What am I going to do in the background? I'm going to add some gray dots. So I'm getting my black and I'm going to mix like a blue gray. Showing atmospheric perspective. Adding a little bit of blue to it. That's too gray. Trying to lighten it. Okay. Still too dark. So this is going to make it duller back here, showing the distance. And then I'm going back to my dark green. Adding some water. I'm going to redo some of the lines. So this is going over and going over. I'm getting a little more green. And I'm going to take a little, the grass still needs work. It just has to look good as a whole. So I'm going to take a little break from the grass and I'm going to go back to the trees. So what I'm going to do is put some blue in the trees. Hold on. Ultramarine. And I'm going to do dots. Yeah, I like the blue there. I'm trying to leave some of the green showing. And then I'm going to add some white to the blue. Let me see what I can do here. I'm going to make a lighter version of that. And that may be too light. I'm going to add some lights in with this. And I'm trying to blend it into the colors around it. This color matches, well, not exactly because it's not the same blue, but it's similar to the sky. And I'm kind of liking the trees a little bit more now. So you kind of just have to try things out and see what works. Here's some blue and lighter blue. Put some light in here. I do like those much better. Okay, so on the other side, I'm going to just continue. I'm going to do just the darks first. and then some lights. I just didn't want to keep changing my brush, so trying to do all the lights in one sitting and all the darks in one sitting. This painting, since it's thicker, it's going to take probably a couple weeks to dry, or maybe even a month. But if you were using acrylic, you wouldn't be able to like leave it open and work around the painting. So that's my attraction to it. You'd have to. Okay, I'm going to leave that for now. And I might put some blue in the front. Now I'm not really looking at the picture anymore. I'm working off my imagination. But this is it's a time-consuming process. And then I'm going to go back up to the top and I'm going to put some light blue up here. I'm going to bring it down a little bit. I need more white, sorry. And the reds and pinks are standing out against the green background. The blue has a purpley tinge to it. So it's complement a little bit to the yellow. Okay, so I'm going to leave that for right now. And I'm going to get the palette knife again, and I have my impasto and my pinks. And now I am kind of using the picture to see where the flowers are. Okay. So I have my pink. I need more white again. White, going through white. Okay. So now to me, this is the fun part. So I'm putting some Impasto Medium in, I'm making some pink. And I'm gonna come and do impasto impressionistic flowers. So if you put two colors on the knife, like a dark pink and a white, you get a mix like that. And there's more flowers than this, so I'm going to add more. I'm just trying to fix up the ones that I have first. And these are texture. They have texture and they have it's like see how sloppy that is mixing, but it looks like a flower. And some of them are lighter than others. I'm going to do some in just red, and I'm adding impasto to the red. So this one I'm going to do bright red. I mixed a red and a darker red here. There's some white in there. So you don't mind if other colors are getting into the paint. I'm going to add a little bit of darker red up here and here. I want a mixture of colors in each flower. So I'm going to get just red over here. And then I'm going to do red again. Here's a pink one. They're kind of all mixing together now. And I'll do red up here. But this paint is thick, and that's the Impasto Medium. There are more flowers, so let me just get, I'm running out of my colors, so let me get some more. So you're going to use up paint fast when you're doing this. And rose. I have cadmium red, permanent rose. These are the reds that I have, and alizarin crimson. So I'm getting my rose, which is a dark rose color, and I'm kind of adding it to some of the flowers that I want a little bit of a darker area. So this is like cake frosting at this point. So it's another tool. I'm going to do some alizarin, which is more like a wine. It's another tool for mixing. Okay, now I'm going to add some here. I'm going to use a brush now. Hold on. There's smaller flowers. So there's large flowers and small flowers. So I'm using a brush, and I'm still using the paint with the Impasto Medium. But I'm using a brush to make the smaller ones. And I'm going to add white to that. That looks too dark. But so Impressionism is like, this can be as beautiful of a flower as something you spent hours on. That's the basic idea. And you're just saying, well, I see some over here. I see some over here. Whoops. Adding some white. There's some over the horizon line. But this paint is thick. And you can have some of it thick and some of it thin. So that will create variation between the texture and a flat surface, a smooth, flat surface. This has a lot of texture on it though. Some of it is not as, the most extreme is the one done with the palette knife. You can do it with a brush too though. That's a thick texture there with the Impasto Medium. But that needs more pink. So there's beauty and messiness. I mean, that's a very simplistic view of it, but there's beauty in not making it perfect and just doing the paint, the sketches of the color and light that you see. Okay. Looking for any other places that I want to add flowers. Some of them can just be a dot. And let me get my knife for this one. I'm going to make another impasto one right here. So see how pretty that thick paint looks? And then I think that's enough for the flowers. I'm going to go back to my water and my dark green. So I'm now just kind of like cleaning it up and defining it. Putting some dark green under here, 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 here. They're kind of stems, but there also could be grass. Okay, so now I'm just going to clean up a few more things. The trees. I'm getting some water in my brush. That's reddish. I need green. I'm trying to get the red out of the brush. I'm trying to maybe do a final layer on the trees to maybe blend some of these colors together. If I get red in it, I'm not going to worry. To even it out a little bit. You can also, if you're using different colors like red and green, you can designate a brush to red and a brush to green. As you can see, this can go on for hours until you get it the way you like it. And that kind of washed out all my blue, so I'm going to do a little bit more blue. I know this is it's kind of hard to get it right. And you kind of have to work around it. I like the blue. I'm just trying to kind of clean it up. But I don't want it, when I'm doing that, it can also mess it up. So I'm going to go back to I'm cleaning this brush off. That looks not, I have to go back to my green. I'm a little bit of a kind of a perfectionist, which you should be when you're painting. Okay, I'm going to leave that. Okay, so now I'm going to go to I'm going to make a little bit more yellow. I need white. And I'm going to add yellow to the white. Ooh, it got green in there, but it can be yellow-green. Too much water. And I'm just going to do a little bit more yellow in here, and then I'll probably finish. This is kind of yellow-green. So try to use some Impasto Medium in your painting in whatever form you want to. And I need my dark green over here. Hold on. This one looks like it doesn't have a stem. So now this is very thick impastoed paint. And as you can see, I could probably play around with this for another couple of hours, but I don't want to make like a 6-hour video for you. So I'm going to stop it here. And I think